So Donald Trump now has his ICE goons using tear gas at churches. I guess this is a Chicago neighborhood. This is just happening now, and this is a time when the government shut down. People are worried about their paychecks. ICE apparently is still working, and Trump's saying he's not going to heaven, and that's in his own words. I need to go through all this stuff with you guys. Let's start with this church thing. This is happening.
Get out of here! Get out of here now!
Now, it's unclear exactly what's going on, and this is with all the ICE stuff because, masked guys show up, and what I think probably happened is they maybe arrested someone, and then, the congregation started to push back, and then they started throwing gas everywhere. I mean, you can see it, and they, meaning ICE, started throwing gas. And I'll just say this. How would you respond if someone came to your church and started going after one of your members? That's just the question I pose to you. The description says, ICE used tear gas on families in Chicago residential neighborhood just because citizens gathered to film. Tear gas was deployed in our backyard right next to the Lutheran church, just 3 days after judges prohibited tear gas from being used on protesters, clergy, or journalists in the Northern District. 20 agents stormed the normally quiet streets in several cars, detaining at least one person. So it could be more than one. It's really hard to say. The incident occurred near the intersection of Sawyer and Wilson in Albany Park neighborhood of Chicago. You also have this. Trump is, I guess, deporting parents of a U.S. Marine. Unfortunately, these stories are far too common. It's every day. It's another basically tearing families apart. And then Trump's talking about that he doesn't think he's going to go to heaven. This was seriously just today, a few minutes ago.
A little cute. I don't think there's anything going to get me in heaven. Okay, I really don't. I think I'm not maybe heaven bound. I may be in heaven right now as we fly an Air Force One. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to make heaven. But I've made life a lot better for a lot of people. And, as an example, had the election of 2020 not been rigged, you would have millions of people living just in Russia, Ukraine alone. That would have never happened. And it didn't happen.
So Trump goes on and on about, Biden cheated, that kind of stuff. But he's seriously talking about I'm not sure I'm going to be able to make heaven. I've made life better for a lot of people, according to Trump. That's actually posted by a conservative influencer person, right winger, talking about Trump not going to heaven. And that's him. That's Nick. He got arrested in Portland. Basically, he just walks around and tries to start fights. And it's funny because the Washington Post even did a map of what these people do, and basically they try to walk through, encampments, if you want to call it that, or the sort of the protest lines, and basically you're just looking for confrontation. And the funny thing I thought about this map was, it shows here, Sorter films pepper spray, then Sorter, that's the guy's name, is shoved into flowers, and then Sorter is arrested. So this is my hometown, Portland, Oregon. You come there, and I guess they'll shove you into flowers, which kind of makes sense. It's a city of roses. And essentially, if you've been seeing local residents, I've been dancing around. This was a new one. I didn't know about this one. The Stave Puft Marshmallow Man costume. They also got Garfield there. They had some South Park characters, the unicorn, and of course the frogs. I've told you guys about this before, where protesting, where you sing songs and you sign a protest, but do it all peacefully. We're blowing bubbles. It's very effective, and it looks like also too we have pictures of maybe various people that ICE has kidnapped. However, as much as I encourage being peaceful, I can completely understand when people get extremely emotional, which I totally understand. If just think how you would feel. Someone comes to your church, actually 20 someone's in mass, unmarked cars, and start going after your congregation. Here's another look at what's going on in Chicago. This is just happening just minutes ago.
Oh, man.
It's just total chaos, as you can see. And we just seen these scenes too much. And honestly, the more that I see these ICE people, I'll just be frank with you guys. I mean, I don't know why they don't just bust out the hoods at this point. I mean, it's just that's how it comes across to me. I don't think there's any other way to put it. On the positive note, though, I mean, we can clearly see residents in Chicago are against it. And I'm also telling you the truth, like, places like Chicago or a lot of cities in USA are really, really diverse. And you can show that people can come together and at least unify against what, who these people are. And I up here, I feel, upset when I see this stuff. If I was on the scene there, I would be pissed. I mean, I think any reasonable person would be pissed off if people are throwing tear gas in your neighborhood and again going after someone in your church is what it sounds like. I totally understand. We also have this, and I know it's a lot to do today. It's a lot of stress, but I do want to tell you what's going on. Footage of deadly ICE shooting in Chicago suburb challenges official narrative. So ICE I think they've shot 2 people to my knowledge. There was the one where they killed someone, and there's another one recently where they shot someone in Chicago, and then they claimed that person was like a part of was it a convoy, the word that they used, of 10 cars. But when you look at body cam footage or sort of the story from the ICE officers, nothing really adds up. He was trying to claim his life was in danger, but then I guess he's on camera saying that his injuries are nothing really serious, nothing major is the actual quote here. Then I think they had a funeral today for the person who was killed, and I was reading through the stuff. The day he was killed, he was just dropping off his kids to school is what it said. Mora said Villegas Gonzalez took his sons to the library 3 times a week, played with Lego and banned phones at the table so the newly blended family could focus on each other. He began to open up to his coworkers, said Alikna, cracking little jokes throughout the day. When his younger son celebrated his birthday, they helped him bake a Minecraft video game, a themed cake with green icing. I just want to mention that sometimes when you watch stuff on TV, and this would be for the mega people, because oftentimes they live in communities that are so disconnected from places like, I'll just use an example of Chicago or Washington, D.C. For them, D.C. and Chicago is like a foreign country. Say, you live in the middle of the country and you've never been to the other places. You don't know how it is. You just don't know. And then Trump comes on TV and just tells you every day that, these cooks in, was this Franklin Park are really, really, ruining the country, et cetera. And that's why I mentioned before where, as it turns out, you're deporting people of U.S. citizens they're in the military serving the country. And in Trump's America, people say go to D.C. and they're finding that the Smithsonian is closed, right? The Smithsonian visitors arrive, locked doors and federal shutdown. And this was from the Smithsonian's post. And, I read through this stuff and I was just thinking about, like, how do you explain this stuff to your kids? One mom was saying, like, she described it as, you won't get to see the animals today, right? And this is Maria, she's 39, explained to her 2-year-old son. How do you explain it to your kids? Like, what is a shutdown? Why are things shut down? Like, mommy, we were supposed to go to the museum. Or describes here, school groups show up, right? Further down the mall, school children on class trips streamed past the National Gallery of Art, while a chaperone grumbled about the closures. And I guess people were walking in and, trying to rattle the door, and they found out that it wasn't working. It wasn't open, right? In the Korean news, they've been showing how bad the U.S. economy is, how everything's going up in costs. And they even actually talked to someone regarding Halloween because all the costumes effectively are made in China. Listen to this.
The majority of kids' costumes have probably gone up $3 to $4. The majority of adult costumes have probably gone up $5 to $8.
Right. So Trump's putting tariffs on everything. So, they're talking about Halloween costumes here. Here they're talking about clothes or tools or audio equipment. Like, everything's going up in cost. Trump's threatening to basically fire everyone. He's already fired a whole bunch of people. People are worried about their paychecks this week, and it's going to get really ugly. It's already ugly, but it's going to get worse, unfortunately, this week. I'll read some more descriptions of it. It says, the pain from the government shutdown is about to hit the public. Here's some quotes. Families around the country are already seeing the impacts, and it's about to get a whole lot worse. This is from a Republican saying that. The American people are going to feel a lot more pain and miss a lot more paychecks in the near future. Another person says, when those paychecks start to dry up, and the military is a big one, that's when purchases, childcare, buying basic things like groceries, that's when it starts to impact people beyond the government. It's a slow burn, but it gets worse as it goes on. Basically, right, we're all connected. If someone doesn't get their paycheck, then they don't go shopping at the store, and then business slows it for another person, and they close the doors. And then when they close the doors, for example, then those workers don't have any money, and they don't go shopping in another store, et cetera, et cetera. And it just keeps dominoing. We're all connected. And I think what's so crazy about this whole Trump thing is he's able to get us all fighting each other, and you literally see it fighting at churches. And Trump and Elon Musk, they're just laughing all the way to their scams, and their goal is to basically fire everyone and replace everyone with AI, and then everyone else will fight for their entertainment, and that's what it ends up being. I know today's not a particular happy episode. I just have to tell you what's going on. And then when the government shut down, these are just some examples. People need benefit verification letters. So you're talking about Social Security. Maybe you're applying for, housing benefits, or there's something wrong with, missing income. There's a lot. I'll just say it, there's a lot. Then this one is about the air traffic controllers. There's a quote here. The closer it gets to the end of the pay period, the more distracted people are getting. Sure, no one is not trying to, but we are all definitely distracted. It's a topic of conversation while we are working, and the distraction itself is a safety risk. And that's regarding the air traffic controllers. Their last paycheck comes on Tuesday, right? So they're distracted by stress, and this is not just them, it's everyone's distracted by stress. So then people start doing a worse job. It's hard to concentrate on anything, which I completely understand. And then this is another one. Callers are already expressing frustration about the limits on our work. So this is calling into government offices, right? Specifically when they're asking us to complete something that we've discontinued due to the lapse in funding. And that's what people are saying from the inside. So that's what's going on. I'd like to hear your thoughts on this. Please be careful out there, and I'll catch you all in the next video.